Hey folks, MasakoX here. The other day, we made a poll asking you about what secondary character you would like us to take a little closer look at, provide some more information about those individuals who otherwise have little intel on them, or at least things that came obviously. Launch came second in that poll, by the way, and we shall be diving deep into Stop It next week, and discuss her lot in life, and how the video game Kakarot had been doing so much for reviving her name in the fandom. However, this time, we are taking this higher, high up in the sky, to where we can think big. This person came first in this poll. Today, we are going to talk about a divine being with the longest running inclusion of the show. For once, we're not talking about Shin or Supreme Kai's, at least at the forefront, although he does crop up every now and again. And yet, we're looking above the likes of our Earth Guardian Kami or Dende. Even though they are technically gods also, it's kind of screwy the way all of this works when you think about it. Toriyama kind of wrote as he went along, really. While Kami was our original look into the crazy world of the Dragonball deities and divine beings as a whole, the one that is more or less active to this day constantly is the one, the only, King Kai. After all, he carried a lot of importance in the story at the beginning, all the way through to the end of the Cell Saga, when we got this cool dude, man. Yeah, okay, he's technically filler, but he's just so chill I can let that slide, right? King Kai's look was something that Toriyama didn't take all that long to pencil. It came naturally to him. What you see here are some of the initial concept designs for King Kai, taken from the pages of Daizenshu 4, part of the sacred text of the Dragon Ball fandom. As you can tell, Toriyama from the very beginning had this particular round silhouette in consideration, but has since added his cricket-like features. And yes, he does have wings, he just doesn't have much need for them, and he's wearing clothes. Yeah, on a planet where you can get everything you want, and also he technically has instant transmission anyway. But then again, that also could be described as filler, but hey, in the anime he has it, so wings aren't exactly vital for him. And oh yeah, he also has a Chevrolet Bel Air, so he's good for transportation. Wings are a little bit redundant. Oh, so I can imagine they make a lot of noise. Me? Making noise? Nah! But why this design specifically, I hear you ask? Well, we can't tell you for sure, but crickets do possess a quite substantial amount of symbolism within Japan. While singing crickets do symbolize stuff like the approaching winter months and the death of life in terms of its cycle, strangely fitting for King Kai since he was encountered by Goku in the other world after he had died, and of course the beginning of every self-respecting slice of life anime, that sound effect. But that second part, the whole death thing, is juxtaposed by King Kai's happy-go-lucky demeanor. Perhaps you could pontificate this notion by saying that since the other world is a thing, death is not something to be afraid of, really. There is an afterlife. It doesn't just end. And if you've been a good person, it is but the next great adventure because you get to keep your body. After all, there is of course the likes of Alibu, Earth's previous champion that King Kai loved from 10,000 years ago. The previous Golden Boy of King Kai was a Grecian emulation. Again, filler, I know, but dang it, I like Alibu. Alibu's cool, alright? And it's not just me that has noticed this differentiation in symbolism and reality. Something about the contrast of his godly nature and his personality has been noted by his recently departed Seiyu voice actor, Joji Yanami, who is also the narrator of the series Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, in one of his earlier interviews for Dragon Ball Tenkaichi Densetsu. If you're not quite sure who Jojo Yanami is, he's basically the voice of Dragon Ball at this point, if you grew up on the subs. Bit crushed in 144p on a CD that you borrowed. What sort of impression did you have of Kyle? And how did you go about making the role? Well, with the way he looks, I didn't have a good idea of what sort of personality he had, so I thought he would be impossible for me to play. Because of that, at the beginning, I interpreted him as a weirdo according to his appearance, and played him that way. But along the way, the story began to show a god worried about the fate of the universe aspect to him, rather than just a pun-loving old man. So I gave serious thought to how I should go about distinguishing both aspects in my performance. Also, that Kaio felt really lovable and I was able to enjoy playing it. I think it's quite easy to say that King Kai has a special role within the series. In Dragon Ball Z, everything changed. All that you knew about Dragon Ball was turned on its head thanks to Z. First off by the Radiant Raditz, introducing space to us folk. But then the likes of Kami took it further, guiding us toward not just King Yama's splendid mahogany desk, but also his superior, King Kai. In a sense, King Kai is the first core person that we meet in the story. And funnily enough, as North Kai, he has the same functionality as Zamasu has, before becoming the candidate for becoming the Supreme Kai, since Zamasu was the North Kai of his region of Universe 10. So wait, North Kai? Yeah, I hear you there. I did a video ages ago about the hierarchy of the Kais, so if you want to see more detail about that, go watch this video here. But here, I'll give you a basic overview. The anime gets even more confusing with the whole naming system, adding the likes of the Grand Kai and the Compass Supreme Kais, not just the Compass Kais. But according to the manga, Zamasu and King Kai do have the same role. Also, I don't know if you've noticed in Super that there are no Compass Supreme Kais anywhere. Goasu is the Supreme Kai, the only Supreme Kai of Universe 10. So no Grand Supreme Kai here either? But then there's R1 fighting Moro in the manga. What? Again, the anime and manga can get a little mixed up sometimes. There's no real explanation in that regard, but hey, at least King Kai was relatively straightforward, right? Before it got all messy. As we mentioned here many times before on this channel, there is a clear distinction and methodology into core people in the Dragon world and how they are born, and that they're basically developed apple cores. King Kai belongs to the lower caste of the Shinjins, the sacred people, the ones born from regular fruit of the kaiju tree. These folk tend to live for an average of about maybe 75,000 years or so, but some can live for a little bit longer. So do we know anything about his past that can shed some light as to what made him who he is today? Well, there isn't much really. You see, core people don't have that much of a personality, nor a typical development cycle that we know with mortal folk. As far as we know, they are born from fruit and just start life, learning as they go. All that we know about King Kai is that he lives on his own planet with his monkey Bubbles and Gregory the Cricket, a character who got added to the anime at the request of the staff, but still was designed by Toriyama, so half canon? And I know a lot of you may be saying, well, wait a minute, all the Compass Kais have personalities. Well, yeah, they do. Some anomalies can change, and King Kai is probably one of the more eccentric personalities out there. But again, once you start to develop the series and you see the likes of Shin, Zamasu, Goasu, they have less personality. King Kai, he had a lot more uniquity about him. For the longest time, he was the head honcho, so he could basically act how he wanted, and they all got more boring from there. So you could say that King Kai peaked in terms of characterization for Compass Kais out there. But back to Gregory. There are sources that claim that Gregory and his design could be referencing Franz Kafka's novel The Metamorphosis, in where the title character, who is named Gregor Samsa, gets turned into a character resembling a roach or a cricket. Though the validity of this claim is a little bit dubious. Though it does seem that this particular work may be quite popular in Japan, so Toriyama's knowledge about it could be fairly plausible. We can easily imagine Toriyama finding something that he likes in popular media and twisting it into something that can work in his own productions. After all, Toriyama saw what the anime staff did with Bardock in his special and slapped him into the official manga because he liked it, and then we got Minus, so swings and roundabouts there. But one of the things that is almost as iconic as King Kai himself is the very planet that he lives on. Apparently, it was much bigger before. It was allegedly 100 times bigger than its current size. We all thought that it was a comedically small planet by design. I mean, okay, it probably was at the time of writing, but apparently, nowadays, 327 years ago, prior to the events of the Beerus Saga and Battle of Gods, the cat god paid a visit to our favourite North Kai. It wasn't clear how the incident came about in the first place. It was either the fact they played a game of hide and seek or a racing video game. It was either Forza Horizon or Gran Turismo, take your pick, I don't really mind. Which resulted in Beerus losing, and you know how much Beerus hates to lose. So yeah, out of spite, he reduced the size of King Kai's planet to its current size. We've seen Beerus being able to cut a planet in half and it still somewhat exists. So it stands to reason that he could reduce the size of a world in other factors. So King Kai's current world came about from sour grapes from a sourpuss. Its most notable trait is that the gravity of this little world is 10 times stronger than Earth's. Don't you realize that Dragon Ball likes to make gravity at least 10 times stronger than Earth's, don't they? Because Saiyans, I mean, it's unknown if it was an even bigger difference from the planet's original size, or whether that particular law of physics was the result of Beerus's tantrum. Yeah, go figure. The next thing we know about him is as the pun-loving, car-enjoying god who trains both Goku, successfully, and the rest of the deceased Z-fighters, not so successfully. Then he provided a lot of insight and wisdom for the group, though he conveniently skips some narrative bits, and for the history of Trunks, he just goes completely AWOL. Ultimately, his next big appearance is when Goku blows him up, along with his planet, because Cell threw a tantrum. And Yamcha not realizing that, well, his specification in the wish didn't restore King Kai to life. Also, it's worth noting that a lot of his techniques are pretty important throughout the series, like the Spirit Bomb, the Kaioken. They're still crucial for the series to this day, Kaioken getting a little buff thanks to Super Saiyan Blue, and arguably they're two of the most iconic abilities used by Goku after the Kamehameha. And whilst King Kai, Gregory, and Bubbles remain dead to this day, even into the likes of Super, because Goku keeps forgetting to revive them. And he's kind of angry at Goku for not bringing him back every time Shenron was summoned since then, but now it's kind of played for yucks. Shenron still has the 1-year limit for reviving multiple people, so maybe he could use that as justification. Frieza was just one person, though in many places and pieces. One could ask, why hadn't they made the wish themselves on Porunga? They could telepathically ask Mori to do it, he wouldn't mind, probably. After all, King Kai is the North Kai of all that galaxy, so he's still a worthy being to the Namekians. Surely he would carry just as much significance with them, especially given their other influences in the lives of deities. In BoJack Unbound, we also learn that the Kais had imprisoned the evil pirate and his crew inside of a star, but the destruction of the planet had broken the seal. He lets it slide when Goku instant transmissions from the other world to give Gohan some energy. It's basically Goku going, "Aw, you're all sucking too hard. Guess I gotta come in and help ya." He does that also in the second Broly movie, clearly disappointed at his family sucking so bad. Joking. To be fair, King Kai appears in other movies as well, when he's often Captain Exposition. But we decided to elaborate on this slightly, as he has some direct connections with the villain BoJack. Also, during the Otherworld tournament, he does bet on Goku against West Kai's champion Pikkon. This little filler arc does establish his rivalry with other Compass Kais, as well as them ridiculing him for his death. Like, how do you even do that? Although he seems to get along just fine with South Kai at least. And that's most of the stuff we have on King Kai, really. Toriyama isn't really known for elaborating much on him, but there is something that we find very compelling and interesting that we would like to leave you with. And keep in mind that the following thing is just our interpretation of all of the things that we presented to you. And it's a theory, so there aren't any official notes about this, but think about this for a second. We have a sensei-type character, one who likes to mess with his followers, is a rather private person, loves his puns, and is obsessed with motors and engineering. Also, said character is aware of his slight laziness, and the fact that he needs to be prompted by outside sources to even do stuff is quite notable and familiar. Does it sound similar in relation to any real person? While it's never stated for sure, and the character that technically represents Toriyama in the Dragon world is Toribot here, we can't help but realize that he put a lot of his own traits into King Kai as well. Especially the whole part of being an omnipotent being that tends to forget things. Again, this might be coincidental, but I don't know. There's something about these two that just can't shake it off. Still, it's only our theory, but we hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the character of King Kai. And I'll see you in the next video. Catch you later!